Yeah, at this point in the evening, I would like to introduce to you Julie Mason. So I've known Julie for a long time. I've probably known her longer than she thinks I knew her. Only because being in the online world, we stalk each other and check out each other's posts and sort of see what everyone's doing. And she was like one of these famous people that I thought, wow, I could never talk to her. She's just so famous. So and that sort of happens when you're in the online world. But Julie's been in the online space for sort of probably more than 10 years, I think. And her specialty, or where she became really well known and is still really well known, and this is not just in this part of the world, but this is globally, is in LinkedIn. So she's one of the global LinkedIn specialists, helping businesses to really understand LinkedIn and to use it and to use it profitably. So she's got and to be sort of one of those worldwide experts, that's just not someone saying it, it's not her saying it, but that's her colleagues in the industry who say that Julie is one of those go-to people. People that know Julie know that is her genius. But the other side of things that she's done is that most of her stuff that Julie teaches, she's been doing it online for years. So she's got membership programs, she's been running courses online, she's been teaching a lot of this online, and I would imagine part of the reason for that is that her students come from all over the place. So they're not just in the Gold Coast. They're from all over the place, and that's one of the great benefits about having an online course, an online platform, is you're not limited geographically. So it's my absolute privilege and pleasure to introduce to you tonight Julie Mason, who will take us through the things that she's learned in the 10 years that she's been running online courses and membership programs. Welcome, Julie.
Nick, thank you so much. I'm feeling a little bit flushed. You've been, embarrassing me there with all of that good stuff. So thank you. And for those of you who would like to connect with me, by all means, reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. That would be a great place. Send me a personal note and say that you were on Nick's call tonight, and that will let me know that that's where we met, which will be really, really good. So great to meet you all. And when Nick reached out to me and his team reached out to me the other week and said, would you like to speak? I said, well, what would you like me to talk on? Your whole thing is about business online and smashing it online. And I've been doing that for about 10, actually, I think it's 12 years now, Nick. It's been a while. And in internet years, that's like, 88 years, right?
Time flies, right, when you're online.
So I'm going to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned over the past 10 years. I'm going to share with you what I wish I did differently, or what I've learned from that time frame if I had to start all over again, and some of my favorite tools and platforms that I love to use as well. So, and in amongst that, I'll try and share some stories for you and make it lots of fun. How's that sound? So without further ado, I'm just finding my slides here and we'll get on with it. So I hope, can you see my screen? Is that cool? Is that coming through? Perfect. Okay, so yes, this is what we're going through, what I've learned in the past 10 years. Gosh, it feels old to say 10 years now. What do I do differently if I was starting again? Biggest lessons along the way, favorite tools and platforms. So who am I and why would you want to listen to me? Well, I have been doing online stuff for a long time. This is just a small snippet of things that I've created. I first started an online program, literally 10 years, an online membership program 10 years ago called Essential Social Media for Small Business, which is this folder here, which is an online program. Then transitioned into doing the Marketing Boardroom, which was a membership program as well. I have the Ultimate Social Media Blueprint, which is a course. I've co-authored a book called Stepping Stones to Business Success. I've been featured in Our Internet Secrets. I'm on the cover of Social Media Success magazine. I've done all sorts of LinkedIn programs, and I'm going to share with you some stories of what I've done along the way. But that's just a little snippet of some of what I've done for you, so you can get an idea of how long I've been doing this, because short hair, long hair, curly hair, you'll see all hairstyles tonight, okay? Because I change my hair a lot as well. Okay, so what I've learned, well, I want to give you 10 things. Given that it's 10 years or more, I thought I'd give you 10 things and 10 tips that I've learned along the way that might help you. And before we dive right into this, can everyone jump in the chat and put a yes if you are interested in creating an online course or membership program? So I'd like to see who is in that space on the call. So I know who's there. I'm just looking at my other screen, a bit like Nick. I've got multiple screens. So, okay, there's quite a few of you. Some are not sure. Membership already are. The queen of the chat box. Thank you, Karine. Okay, yes, launches in February. Congratulations, Jane. That's awesome. Fantastic. Excellent. Okay, so one of the things that I know to be true, and one of my first biggest lessons when I started online marketing 12 years ago, because for those of you who haven't met me before, my background is before online is 25. I've been doing sales for actually now 30 years, which is, again, scary to say that word, 30 years. But I started actually doing sales, 30 years ago. And in that, I've done 15 years in door-to-door cold calling. And what got me into online marketing was that I found that people were shifting their response to me, about 15 years ago now, 14, 15 years ago, was a real shift in the way people were responding on door-to-door cold calling. And I was cold calling industrial estates and corporations and you name it. I pretty much stalked and, I used Google Earth back then as well. So that's really dating myself back then to find where I could go cold calling and finding all my clients. But I noticed this big shift, and then I started reading a book by Dale Beaumont. That's what got me into online marketing, and it was Secrets of Internet Entrepreneurs Exposed. And I went, oh, that's really cool. And so I kind of read through this book and decided that I would either look at eBay or ebooks. And so it was either Matt and Amanda Clarkson for eBay or Andrew and Daryl Grant for ebooks. And I decided I'd do the ebooks circuit, which was the thing to do. And my very first, I've written 2 ebooks, 2.5 actually. One I just stopped creating, but I wrote a book. My first ebook was on how to build a DIY retaining wall. And I realized that I'd made a mistake, and I'll talk about that one in a moment. And the second one that I wrote, which also flopped for me, and I'll tell you why, and it comes to this very first point, was I wrote a book on how to get pregnant and how to do it in a home environment without having necessarily a partner. It's effectively called the funny name for it is the turkeybastermethod.com was the domain that I bought. The things we do, right? And here's the thing, for those of you who don't know me, I am married now we've been with my husband now 31 years. We don't have children. So the irony of it is I'm writing a book about how to get pregnant when I had no desire to get pregnant. And this leads me to my very first point. You will be successful if you follow what you're passionate about, right? And I am not passionate about talking about pregnancy or getting pregnant. And I have no personal experience about that. And one of my mentors that I follow, Brendan Bouchard, says that if you're going to create a course or an online program, be prepared to talk about it non-stop for the next 3 years. So just take that in for a moment. Be prepared to talk about it non-stop for the next 3 years. And I'm not. I wasn't passionate about that. I had to find my groove. And I suggest some of you trying on a couple of gloves to find which one fits right for you. But the first part that I would start with is that, as Fabian says, the things you are passionate about are not random. They are your calling. So, follow them. And it's very interesting that one of my early mentors said to me, you'll never make money teaching about cold calling because no one wants to do it. And yet in reality, it's what I teach on LinkedIn. So I think it's quite hilarious how it's all come about, but there you go. So it's a funny story. Follow what you're passionate about. Okay. The second tip that I've got for you that's really important when it comes to doing anything online, in fact, any business for that matter, is do your research. Thoroughly research the market. And again, that comes to that other ebook that I wrote about building a retaining wall. The problem that I did there was my mentors at the time said, here are the steps to create a successful ebook. And I just completely skipped the second step, which was do the research, right? And in order for you to make money from an ebook, you need to find a hot and hungry market that will actually pay you moolah, pay you money for the product. And so I didn't actually have a great market for that particular product. But if anyone is about to build a DIY retaining wall, hit me up. I will send you the PDF of the book and you can have it for free. But essentially, do your research. Look at, and there's a whole range of ways that you can do your research, which we don't have time to go into now, but I'm sure Nick will be able to help you with that, from looking at Google, you know, the AdWords or the keyword research in Google, through to, you know, one of my favorite things to do is to join Facebook groups around that topic. I join generally about 20 to 25 Facebook groups around the topic or where my target audience is. And then I actually listen, what's called online listening, and I read through hundreds of posts to find out what are the common themes that are coming up for my ideal target audience. And I start jotting down those problems and pain points that they've got. And then I use that as part of my research and development. And you can use that sort of that language into my marketing copy, which is really clever as well. So definitely research the market is incredibly important there. I think there's a question here from Victoria. Did anyone call you out on that? I've specialized in working with people and their children for the past 35 years. Are you talking about me getting pregnant? Is that it? Or I'm not sure. Victoria, we might have to come back to that. We'll save that for a Q&A at the end, okay? But essentially, number 3 that I highly recommend, and this is where I'm going to give you a free gift for everybody here on the call today, and this is so important, is know your ideal client avatar. And I mentor lots and lots of people and work with hundreds and thousands, well, hundreds of people in my program and thousands of people over the years. And one of the things that I'm constantly asking them is, who are you trying to target here? And they'll say, oh, everybody in business, or anybody, if they're doing beauty products, anybody who's got a skin. And I'm going, well, no, that's not quite it. You're going way too broad. You need to really get down into the nitty gritty of it and do the research. So my first gift for you tonight is, if you go onto my website, juliemason.com.au, I give you a free worksheet. It's 10 pages and it will take you step by step how to actually create a client avatar. It's quite different to what a lot of avatar worksheets are out there at the moment. This one specifically is well done, more for the B2B marketplace as well, which is, most of them are more a business to consumer. But if you're a business to consumer, there'll still be lots of relevance in this for you as well. And at the end of that downloadable worksheet, there is a link at the very bottom of the PDF, which you can click on, and it will open up a Google Doc for you to create your own. And it's got all of the sections there for you to fill in. So that's my first gift for you all, to start working on your ideal client avatar. And in that workbook, it also has a full example of a client avatar for you to get your head around, and also some tips on how to research your client avatar, where you'll find some of the information that I'm asking you to search for. And when you do that, you'll find that it's really easy to start creating that. So I think the link is already up there, but yes, jump onto juliemason.com.au and you can download that. All right. Step number 4, and this is actually a picture of my first launch. So back in 2010 at Fitzy's at Logan Home down here on the highway in Brisbane. And my 4th tip here is pre-sell your course or program before you create it. Now, there's a couple of things to this. It can be a really big scary thing to do that if you haven't created it before. But what it does is it allows you to find out if there's actually a market for your program before you spend months and months creating it, only to find out that what you've taken all this time to do, there isn't a market for it yet. So this is actually a picture of me at Fitzy's. I did a one-day social media boot camp, and I didn't have a list back then either. 10 years ago, I didn't have an email list. I had a couple of friends and an accountant who were in business. And so I asked them, would they invite their clients? Would their clients be interested in learning this whole new thing about Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and LinkedIn and all of that kind of thing? We invited them to come in and invite their clients. And we sold tickets, I think, for $79 for an early bird ticket and $99 for, if you paid afterwards. And we got, I think, 77 people in the room or 78 people in the room, something like that. And I then offered them a launch special. I said, I haven't created it yet, but here's exactly what I'm looking at doing. The first module will be launched in 6 weeks' time, and you'll get the membership program at a very reduced rate in comparison to what it will be launched at when it's done. And from that, I converted 42% of the room. So, which is a pretty high conversion when something hasn't even been built yet. I didn't even have a website to actually show them. And every program that I have created in the last 10 years, I have pre-sold before creating it. So I think, Nick, we might stop here. I think there are some things coming up in the chat. Do you want to, I'm seeing things streaming, so I'm not able to look and check it at the same time.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff streaming there through chat. A lot of it is just good validation. Great tip. Pre-selling a book before you write it, which is smart. Corinne's got a question here. I definitely wait until I've sold a face-to-face course before creating the content. But for online, it feels difficult to point people to content if it's not there already. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how you approach this as a process.
Well, the actual way to approach it is to actually run an event, whether it's a webinar online or a live event like I did back in 2010, and I have done many events over the years. I would suggest that if you're pre-selling something, then you definitely want to create an event and run your marketing to fill that event with your ideal clients, and then have your slides. And if you're doing an event like I did in person in this case, and again subsequently in other times as well, have some handouts that actually state what's going to be included in it, what their founder's price will be, etc., so that they can really see, and then a sign-up form that's attached to that. So for everything that I've done, I've pretty much run an event, or I might have even done a couple of events. So for this one, I might have run a webinar that then funneled people into an event in person, and then from there upsold them into the program. So that's one strategy. There's a whole number of ways that you can slice and dice that. But essentially, if you're pre-selling a course or a membership program, you really want to make sure that you're doing it in some form of an event to get that happening. So, yeah. Any other questions on that?
Yeah, there's another question here, which is, where did you find the trends?
The trends?
So it must have been about your keyword research and finding trends of what's happening in order to be able to...
I haven't got that. Like, Nick, you'd probably know as well, Google used to actually have a trends thing. Do you remember?
Yes,
that?
there is Google Trends, which
there
is
Google Trends, which is
trends.google.com, and you can use that. That's one of my tools that I go to look for what's actually happening in the market at the moment.
Yep, that's a great one. Google Trends has been one that I've used for 13 years. But also, as I said, I join Facebook groups and I really listen, which means I'm reading the comments and the posts that my ideal target audience are putting up there. And because in Facebook groups, people tend to be quite open, and there seems to be very little filter in some of those. So you actually find out exactly what's going on. And I read the posts and I read the comments and find out what's really, people are struggling with. And then that helps me to create those topics and those ideas for content, and also to get those phrases and the language right for my website, for the webinars, for all sorts of, things that you can come up with there. So it works really, really well. Anything else, Nick, before we move on those?
Um, you've just encouraged someone to get really busy now to sell her online art course membership. There's Jane here, so she's got a course. So
Great. All right. Well, we'll move on. My fifth tip that I've learned over the years in the past 10 years plus of doing online marketing is have an elevation plan. And what I mean, I actually drew this morning to show you on my little $4 whiteboard from Kmart. Was to basically say, you really want to think about your elegant, six-figure business funnel, essentially is what I call mine. Okay. And I start off with free. Free would be your social media posts, your webinar, your lead generation webinars, your email marketing, anything along those lines that's free that you're giving content, podcasts, YouTube videos, all of that's free content, right? The goal is to put them into your low cost entry, and that could be your course. So for me, my LinkedIn course is my low cost entry point to working with me. And then I have other programs that are higher priced behind that. But that low cost entry program builds trust, gets people to understand the value that I'm delivering there. And many of my clients actually come up through the ranks because they've gone through this LinkedIn training, and then they're really interested in finding out, okay, I really need a little bit more help. And Julie's been able to showcase more expertise than just LinkedIn. So I want to work with her on a mid-level program or a VIP premium program. And here's the thing to note, guys, the more people pay you, and price is a big mindset issue for a lot of people when it comes to courses as well. The more people pay you, the more they show up to get the work done, right? So if they buy a $59 course, they don't have as much skin in the game as if they spend $5,000 with you, and then they're going, okay, I've now got a little bit of back pocket hurt happening with my wallet being a little skinnier. I really need to do the work so that I can get the result and get a return on my investment for the $5,000. So you really need to think about your ideal client, your product and service, and how you can scale that, right? And think about those pain points that they might be going through. I talk a lot about that with the ideal client avatar, with just in the workbook, but also when I talk and work with my clients as well. And the more they pay, again, as I said, the more skin in the game people have, then the better their results are, because again, they're showing up to do the work. And as Nick said, look, by the way, Nick, you're absolutely right in what you say. I didn't have it in my notes today, but I'm going to totally agree with you. Only 5% maximum of people actually complete your course, even today. And that statistic has lasted the entire time I've been doing online courses, which is 10 plus years, right? So I used to get really shattered emotionally that people weren't getting through my program, that I'd done blood, sweat, and tears to get them into this course, but they weren't consuming it. And one of my things that I haven't got in my further notes here, but I want to share with you now, is that over the years I've created, my first program was purely hands off from me. They got the online content, they were able to access it 24/7 for as long as they liked. So they got great content, they got downloads, etc. I didn't have a Facebook group back then, because Facebook groups 10 years ago, believe it or not, weren't really a thing. So we didn't have a Facebook group. By the way, 10 years ago, we got more reach, on like 60% reach on our Facebook page, which we don't anymore. But having said that, what I've learned along the way, having restructured my programs, and my current program, Link Sales Formula, I think has really hit the right mix, because it's a combination of online content that they can consume at any time they like, combined with a Facebook group where they can ask me questions whenever they need, and I'll go in and answer those questions, combined with group coaching where they can actually interact with me and it's leveraged. And so that gives them the ability to really engage more. And I find, Nick, coming back to the point you made earlier, is that I get very little refund requests. In fact, I think in the 5.5 years I've run that LinkedIn program online, I might have had 3 in 5 years with over 400 people that have gone through that course. So, which I think is pretty good value in terms of, you know, numbers and statistics. So I think you would find that, you know, this is working quite well. So, you know, find what works best for you. What's your favorite thing to do in terms of delivery? If you love doing, you know, online videos, then great. If you prefer to do emails and your clients are happy with that, then great. If you prefer to doing Zoom group calls, then that's great too. There's no right or wrong for anybody. What suits one person may not suit another, but you've got to find your best way of doing it. Okay, so there's no, like, you can skew the statistics that this way is the only way to do it. No, this way is. My experience is that it's what works for you. And then put your best efforts behind that, right? Put your best efforts in your marketing and in really getting connected strategically with your ideal client and building that relationship, nurturing them and bringing them through. So have an elevation plan is really important. I remember, oh gosh, it probably would have been about 6-7 years ago. I was running LinkedIn and Facebook workshops, one day LinkedIn and one day Facebook workshops. I'd been running them for about 5 years, every month in Brisbane. And I decided to take them on the road and do Perth and Melbourne and Adelaide and all the major cities around Australia. And the night before my first one, I kind of sat there and I went, geez, I've got nothing to upsell them. I'm going to be giving them this amazing one-day course, but I've got nothing then to say, hey, here's the next step if you need more help. And so I quickly, you know, rustled up a bit of a program and then pre-sold it again the next day and kept doing that. And I made an extra $60,000 within 4 weeks that I wouldn't have had I not had that elevation program, right? So really important that you have an elevation plan as well. So my 6th point, focus on where your customers are. And this is because I've been teaching social media for such a long time. This is a really important thing for you to realize. I turn a lot of people away from LinkedIn because I'll say to them, their ideal clients may not be there. For example, I had one lady, a very clear example, who is a cake maker. She's a wedding cake maker. And she came to me and she said, I'm doing really well on Facebook, but I've heard you speak so often about LinkedIn. I want to see if my business will be really good there. And I said, honey, I'm going to tell you, don't do LinkedIn for wedding cakes. It's not where your ideal clients are going to look for your products and services. Will you, you know, jag somebody there? Look, you can after time, but by the time you do, you're going to be really frustrated. So go where your customers are. And for her, for example, I would have been saying Facebook, Pinterest, excuse me, Instagram. They would be the places where her ideal target audience would be hanging out. If you're trying to connect with tradies, for example, then it may actually be that you need Facebook, and for their, you know, for their larger corporations, you'll get them on LinkedIn, definitely, because there's a vibrant construction market on LinkedIn. But interestingly enough, if somebody is saying, I'm trying to connect with, you know, solopreneur electricians, for example, I would be saying you need an SMS strategy, because the one thing that they will have on them at all times is their phone. So you'll want an SMS strategy for that, because that's where you get their attention. They've always got their phone on them. So really think about, where are your customers hanging out? If they're B2B customers, they're corporate type clients, for example, then they'll be on LinkedIn. If they're health and wellness, so we've got Jamie who's doing health and wellness coaching, for example, they're probably going to be more on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, as opposed to necessarily LinkedIn, Twitter, or Snapchat as the example that we've got up here. But find where your clients are. And why I say that is because when we start going into business, and I'm sure, Nick, you've experienced this with your clients as well, they kind of feel that they have to do all of it. And that's exhausting for them and it's overwhelming for them. So my advice is focus on one channel, get really proficient at it where your clients are hanging out, and then add another channel and then add another one after that, right? So that would be an example there. All right, number 7.
A couple of questions, Geordie.
Oh,
Can
yes,
I
sorry.
just jump in here? One here from Angela saying, what's an example of an SMS program for tradies? It's probably more a tech question, I guess.
It could be, yeah. So, Angela, if you can just ask if that's a tech question or if you're actually asking for the marketing strategy behind that. There's two very different questions there.
And there was another one which is about those low priced offers, those lower price courses, or entry price courses. If their completion rate is so low or they don't complete it, is it worth offering those at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think this ties in with an ego mindset, right? Yeah, that if they don't finish them, then, oh, I haven't done a good job. And we take on the responsibility ourselves. Here's the thing, and Denise Duffield Thomas, I was listening to her on a podcast a couple of years ago, and I really loved what she said about this, is that it's like a loop. She said from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you open the loop by delivering content. And that's your job, is that, that first half of the clock. The second half of the clock, for example, is how it's up to them how they consume it, if at all. It's outside of your zone of control, outside of your circle of control. You cannot control whether they're going to do the work or not. That's up to them. I know myself. I purchased, I don't know how many umpteen courses online and never even opened module 1. And I'm not unhappy about spending the money. I also know that I've got access to them when I need them. But don't kind of put that responsibility on yourself. My advice is serve at your highest level without attachment to the outcome. It's something that I tell my clients all the time. Serve at your highest level without attachment to the outcome. And that comes down to whether they're actually doing the courses or not, whether they're whether you're serving or doing a lead generation webinar, and you have to let go of whether people will buy it or not, because if you're constantly worried about whether they're going to spend money on you, you take your energy and you shift that off the actual serving part of it, and you focus it then on the profitability of it for you. And that's what I call an inner and outer game, right? So if we're focused all on what's in it for me, we're not serving our clients as well. If we focus on what's in it for them and how can I serve them, it changes the game, and you get known and you get a reputation for then service. And one of the things that's really one of the biggest reasons people buy is your service for them, because customer service is actually king in everything. So I know I've got some clients on here on this call tonight who have been in my programs for a while. I'm not sure if they're willing to put their hand up and say how much of the course that they've done, but I'm pretty sure some of them have not completed the course in full, and that's okay, which is why nowadays I structure that course to serve them in a multitude of ways. I structure it so that if they want to, they can consume the content in the video and the training format in the members portal. If they want to, they can engage with me through the Facebook group. And if they prefer, they can engage with me through the group coaching calls. And it's leveraged. So for me, I'm able to serve them that way because I'm leveraging my time. I'm not doing it one-on-one. The rules of the game to engage with me in those courses are either the Facebook group where everybody can learn. So if they've got a question, they must post it up there so that the other members can see it. And those who aren't brave or they're a bit too shy to post those questions, they can learn from it as well. So I'm leveraging all the time where I can. Does that answer the question, Nick? I hope.
Sounded pretty good to me. I'm on board with that. I've got some clarification around the SMS program for tradies. It's about the marketing strategy. What's an example of a SMS marketing strategy for, say, tradies?
Oh gosh, now I'm on the fly. For example, like as I said, if you're trying to target, let's say you're trying to target electricians, and you might be offering bookkeeping services. Well, bookkeeping is probably not the right thing, because often if they're an electrician, their wife or their spouse or their partner does their bookkeeping for them, interestingly enough. So you're targeting the wrong person there. But let's say you're going to give them some, let's say you're going to give them some extra certification or qualifications that will make them, even better. It could even be how to market your electrical business so that you generate an extra $50,000 a year in revenue. Let's say that that's your course, right? And for that, I would be then, if you don't have a list of phone numbers, you can buy lists of phone numbers for, let's say, electricians or plumbers or whatever. And in that case, I would literally go and buy a list, and that, because that's the fastest way to make money. And I would then send them, I would have a really well thought out hook. And what I mean by hook is a free giveaway, like a free video or a PDF or something that they, preferably something like a video would work really well for them, because they will watch that on their phone, because they've all got smartphones. So I'd probably do like a video for them that would talk to them about, are you struggling to get clients as an electrician? Here are 3 quick tips that can get you a new client in the next 10 days or in the next 7 days. Because if they can get one result for free within the next 7 days, then they're hooked and they're going to want to know more from you. And so I'd probably do something like that, and I'd send that as an SMS. So gosh, Nick, that was on the fly.
It was, and look, I think, I mean, you did really well, but I think it's one of those things too that you test it, you see, what works, what doesn't work, and the thing with marketing is that you never know what's going to work until you throw it out there. Yeah. It's only when you throw it out that you see what's actually going to stick and what's not.
That's right, exactly. So my 7th point here in the last 10 years, I see a lot of people, and I know that this is a hot topic right now with COVID. And so I'm going to talk about that separately. Let's just say, regardless of COVID, you should set the price for your course and don't discount it, add value. And what I mean by that is the course, for example, I only gave a discount. I gave my existing clients who had spent money with me learning LinkedIn, when I launched my current course years ago, five and a half, nearly 6 years ago, I gave them a founding offer to join that program. And since then, I've never discounted that program. It's always been $997. It has payment options, so they can choose to pay either $97 a month for 12 months or $350 for 3 monthly payments. But I've never changed the price or reduced the price down. But I have instead added really juicy bonuses that were available for a limited time that drove the sales. So rather than discount, which is always where you lose profitability, add value as a limited time bonus than discount your product, if that makes sense. So that's my 7th tip here for things that I've learned. Tip number 8, again, is outcome-based pricing. And a lot of people, again, I said this earlier, pricing is a real mindset issue for a lot of people. I deal with mindset on pricing with pretty much every one of my mentoring clients that I work one-on-one with. We're always addressing that issue. And it comes down because we've got this whole society where we've come from working in a job and we get paid an hourly rate, and then we become an entrepreneur and we kind of are still in this hourly rate scenario. I want you to think about what is the value your client will get in doing your program, and focus your pricing on the outcome rather than on an hourly rate. For example, whatever your online program, course, platform is that you're doing, focus on outcome based rather than on an hourly type rate, if that makes sense. So I thought I had an example and it's just flipped straight out of my head on this one again. But essentially, it really comes down to that your clients will pay to get out of pain, all right? And in doing so, one of my marketing mentors over the years, Mal Emery, says pricing is elastic. My examples just popped back into my head. So I have degenerative disc disease in my back. I've had it for a long, long time. And so I have bad back problems, right? And from time to time, I end up spending a lot of money just getting upright again. I remember December last year, not the one just gone, but the one before, 2018, I think. I put my back out so badly that between the 4th of December and I think it was the 17th of January, I spent literally about $1,500 between chiropractors, rolfing massage therapists, acupuncturists, anything to get me out of pain and get me upright. In that time frame was the pain levels, right? And so if you had a back solution for me that would stop me from having back issues, I would probably spend over $1,000 to get that information, to get a program or some coaching or an exercise class, for example, that would really show me how to establish my core muscles and, get me, working the right muscles to keep my back upright. So where there's a lot of pain and your clients are really struggling, they are more willing to pay more to get out of that pain, if that makes sense. So definitely have a look at that. Okay. Tip number 9 is serve consistently. And I love the quote here that what you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. And when I first started my business, when I first started my online business, I did not have 2 red pennies to rub together. I couldn't afford, we didn't have Facebook ads back then, believe it or not. I couldn't afford Google ads. I couldn't afford hiring anybody to do anything for me. I had to do it all myself. I couldn't even afford to do those, those flyers that I saw so many people that I was connected to do at the networking meetings that I was attending. I could go to the network meetings because there was a bit of leverage in that, but I just couldn't do all the rest. I was really rubbing 2 red cents together to get going. And so what I did instead was I posted on social media twice a day across 5 social networks every day for 5 years. I'm just going to say that again. I posted twice a day, every day on 5 social networks for 5 years. I have done in the past 10 years over 490 webinars, lead gen webinars for myself. That's not including all the speaking gigs that I've done aside from that, but wherever I could get leverage, I would take it. So I didn't join a networking group, for example. I asked how I could speak at networking groups, because joining the networking group would give me maybe 3 conversations in 3 hours with the person on the left and the person on the right and maybe somebody else that I got to have a conversation with. But if I spoke to the 20 people that were in the room, or 10 people that were in the room, or the 100 people that were in the room, they knew me. I was then considered an expert in that arena because I was on the stage, right? So wherever I could, I went for leverage. And even today, I say to my clients, look, our reach on Facebook may not be great. It is fantastic. Let me just give you the statistics on LinkedIn. And if you're not convinced on using LinkedIn, this might do it for you, right? Because Facebook tell us that right now, if you post on your company page on Facebook, on your business page on Facebook, you will be lucky if you get 1 to 3% of your followers seeing your content. So if you've got 100 followers, you're lucky if 1 to 3 of them will see your content. And that means you really got to be engaging and really great copy with your content to get that engagement happening, to post it out and get more people seeing it. And a lot of people struggle with creating content, right? Another problem that they've got. On LinkedIn, we've got over 700 million members on LinkedIn. Only 3 million of them post consistently. So it's 700 million, 3 million posts consistently, which is, by the way, 0.43% of members are posting consistently on LinkedIn. And when you think about that, that means it's so easy to rise to the top on LinkedIn with your content and get it seen and get it noticed. And the other thing about that is that in the LinkedIn's news feed, there are 9 billion, so just listen to these numbers, 9 billion post impressions per week. That's huge. So if there's only 3 million posting, but there's 9 billion post impressions, that means that content is really getting churned through on LinkedIn. They're wanting to raise your content up. But what a lot of people get stuck on LinkedIn is that if they're not getting likes or comments or shares, they get really frustrated and they stop doing it. And on the engineering blog for LinkedIn, about a month or so ago, the LinkedIn engineers wrote on their blog post that said clicks and viral actions like likes, comments, and shares are really rare on LinkedIn. This is the LinkedIn engineers, we focus on how long a person reads your post, because we know they won't necessarily engage with it. So we look at how long they dwell. It's called dwell time, how long they dwell on it, right? And so the more consistent you are at posting on LinkedIn and the more dwell time you get. So again, this is where we've got to put our ego aside, where we go for likes, comments, and shares, and that soothes our ego and makes us feel better about ourselves because, people have liked our stuff and it validates us. I need you to put that ego aside for a bit and focus on getting people to read, to dwell on your content for longer. And that comes from consistently posting, consistently serving, okay? And I've done it for a long time. I'm probably not doing it at the moment because when COVID hit, my business went up by 40%, not down. And I literally haven't done any marketing for the last 6 months because I've been busy as a blue-ass fly, essentially, which is a great problem to have. But that's come from the fact that I have consistently been doing this for a long time, guys. Does it make sense? So just pay attention to some of those statistics. I hope that's been helpful. And by the way, I'm just going to check in with the chat box for a sec. I want you guys for you, put a yes if it has, okay, in the chat, so I can see if this is working for you. Okay, great, excellent. Right, we know that at least 4 people are listening to me. The rest of you have gone into snooze land. Okay, let's move on. Okay, my 10th tip, and this is really important, again, not just for myself, but for my clients. I'm working with them constantly on their sales process. It is my zone of genius is selling. I've been doing it for 30 years, traditionally and online. I've made a lot of money in both areas from doing that. And what I know to be true is most people, when they start their own business, when they start an online course, they're really knowledgeable in that topic, but they haven't learnt to sell. And so whatever I can suggest to you is to brush up your sales skills. I am constantly learning selling, even to this day. So for example, to talk of another course for a moment, I went on to LinkedIn Learning and did Selling to Executives course and got my little certificate and put it on my LinkedIn profile, right? So definitely, we've got that opportunity there for you to brush up on your course. And by the way, to access LinkedIn Learning, you need a premium account, but here's a little hack. Nick, can I give them a free way of getting LinkedIn Learning?
Please.
Okay. So the State Library of Queensland, I don't have the link on me, but if you look up the State Library of Queensland and you join it for free, it's a free membership to join the library, by the way. You can join it online on their website. And when you do, they will give you access to all of lynda.com, which is essentially LinkedIn Learning. And it's free, doesn't cost you the price of premium. How cool is that? All right, do we have any questions at this point, Nick?
Yes, that is really cool. I've used that state library thing for years. It's just absolutely awesome. You get access to all sorts of things. So what have we got? We've got a couple of questions here. One from Donna who says, what if posts are short? The dwell time will be shorter. How long should your post be?
Okay, so good question, Donna. Thank you. Okay, so the types of posts that get dwell time at the moment on LinkedIn, there are 3 types that do really well with dwell time. The first one is a short video, which no more than 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the sweet spot for LinkedIn, and preferably with captions, because 86% of members on LinkedIn don't listen to the audio when they're watching the video. So you want captions on it. So 3-minute video is fantastic. What they call carousel posts. This might, confuse a few people, and I don't have LinkedIn up for me to show you an example because I wasn't going to go into LinkedIn a lot tonight. And I do still have some more tips to share with you about tools and stuff for online courses in a moment. But carousel posts are where you can upload a PDF, for example, a multi-page document. And what it will do is it will have the little arrows to the right for them to click on the next page. And so that gets people engaging with the post and clicking on and reading the PDF. The sweet spot is at least 3 pages, maximum 9, provided it's really great content for a carousel type post. And then long text-based posts with scattered with a few emojis. You could add a picture on the bottom of it if you want, but it's not necessary. But a long text-based post, I think you can do up to 1,300 characters on a long text-based post. And that could just be, you sharing some thoughts. It doesn't actually have to have, an image or a link to somewhere else on that, but it's got to be, the first 2 lines of it really need to grab people's attention. So you need to really think about your copywriting there. And you might want to use a tool like Headline Generator, for example. I think that's just headlinegenerator.com. That allows you to really work out how to create, a great email headline or a great, opening statement type thing. So that would be really quite good. Yeah, 500 characters should be fine, Donna. That's okay. But, just so long as it gets them to say, see more. Okay. If they then are interested and they click see more, that's going to create dwell time. And that's what LinkedIn are looking about. So yeah, fantastic. All right. So I don't know the statistics on whether video is more viewed than text. I actually don't know that. So sorry I can't answer that one. All right. Any other questions that I missed there, Nick?
There is one other here, and that is, how can you sell a product on LinkedIn?
Oh, well, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
The same way you do on Facebook, but you just got to, be a little bit more patient. I often say that if we were lining up, like the highway, right? And there's the slow lane and the medium lane and the fast lane, and then Twitter's like the fast lane because it just zooms by with its content. And if you look away for a second, it's 20 posts deep and you've lost everyone. Facebook's like the medium speed, and LinkedIn is the nano speed. It's the slow paced, version. So you've got to give a little bit more lead time when you're doing your marketing on LinkedIn. Don't expect it to be instant. It's not going to be. People don't check in there as quickly or as often as they do on Facebook or Twitter. If they use Twitter, for example, if your target audience is a Twitter user, then be on Twitter. But know how that platform works. So yeah. All right. So what would I do differently? Well, I've got a couple of quick tips here. First, I would outsource quicker. I know we can often just go, I'm going to do this myself, or I don't have the money. I can tell you now that if I had it outsourced quicker, I would have made a lot more money in doing so. So whether you use Upwork or onlinejobs.ph or Fiverr or something else, I don't care what, but if it's not your zone of genius and you have the funds with which to throw $5 or $500 at it, then outsource it, get it done, right? Because it will save you a whole lot of pain and torture, and it will get you making money much quicker. Be a specialist sooner. I originally started doing what Nick was doing. I ran an I ran a web design business and an SEO business for 5 years. And then people started asking me how I was getting business through social media. And I started then opened a second business teaching social media. And I was teaching Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook ads and Twitter and Pinterest. And back then we had, all these other weird and wonderful ones that are not MySpace and stuff that's no longer around, right? And it was exhausting, by the way. And I was a generalist, and I was constantly trying to keep up with the enormous changes that were happening across all of those networks. The moment that I just went, okay, where do my clients get the best results? And for my clients, it's LinkedIn. That's who I tend to attract. And the moment I just specialized in that, I went from being a GP and charging $75 an hour, for example, to being a brain surgeon charging $500 an hour. So it changes the game when you specialize. So niching down works really well. Find that, niche that's an inch wide and a mile deep in their hot and hungry market, and you'll be fine. My third thing is ask for help. I am a stubborn wart when it comes to not asking people for help. I would rather stab myself in the eye with a fork than do that. And I've learned over the years that I get there faster if I ask for help. So nowadays, I'm constantly in a mastermind. I've been in probably 7 different masterminds in the last 10 years. I'm currently in a mastermind that of my peers who are brilliant marketers. And if I've got a question, I can go to them and ask it. And likewise, they can come to me and ask me for a question on LinkedIn. And we've got that collaboration going where it's okay to not know everything. And that's been fantastic. So if you don't know of a mastermind, then create your own. I remember when I first started online, myself and 2 friends that were at the same course together, we just went, oh my gosh, we can't do this on our own. How about we actually meet every month? We called ourselves back then the Excellence Buddies. We met every month and we just helped each other with our business and helped to grow. And each of us learnt differently. So what I would pick up, they didn't understand. And what they picked up, I didn't pick up as much. So we were able to share our different, way we learnt things as well, which is incredibly valuable. So masterminds where you've got some peers, they don't even have to be in your industry, but getting some help would be great. My biggest lessons is avoid bright, shiny objects. If it's not in alignment with your strategy, then save it for another day. We have this whole fear of missing out that just derails us because we think, oh, I need that, I need it now. And it takes you totally off course and stops you from getting towards your goals. So avoiding bright, shiny objects. Really look at something and ask the question, is this right for my strategy right now? And if it isn't, if it's a later thing, then put it aside, put it in, a note, Evernote for, I'm going to have a look at this down the track. It will still be there, I promise you. Mistakes hold your biggest growth. We often feel that, we get really mired and down in the dumps when we make a mistake. I made a mistake today. I actually hit send when I hadn't even, on an email to my list that I hadn't even filled in the email. It just had the email template there. And I went, oh, bugger. And then so I did an oops email and said, sorry about that. I hit enter way too soon. Here's what I'm going to be talking about, blah, 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 blah. But mistakes hold your biggest growth, where we can learn from something and then go, okay, how can I reframe that so I'm not making that mistake again? Trust your intuition. Intuition is right between inspiration and innovation. So, we start at data where we're collecting information, collecting this data or we're picking up these signals, and then We gather the information, we start to become more knowledgeable. That gives us insight, which leads to inspiration. Then you've got to trust your intuition. Don't rule out your intuition on that. Trust your gut. I've had a lot of people say to me who I've paid thousands of dollars a month to mentor me, and they've said, don't do that because it won't work. And I've gone, you know what? I really need to trust my intuition. I know that that's what you believe, but I'm going to trust myself here. I'm going to back myself. And it's panned out exactly as I expected it would. And they then came back and said, I didn't think that would work, but you were right. So really trust yourself in this, because you know your business better than anybody else. Again, as Mal Emery, one of my favorite marketing mentors, has said to me, you can't pay me enough to care about your business because it's your business. The only person who's going to care as much as you is you, right? So trust your intuition in this process. Don't hand over the power reins to somebody else and expect them to care about it as much as you do. That's one of my biggest lessons. And get accountable. So not only have I had masterminds that I've been a member of for the last 10 years, I've also had an accountability buddy. And this past 18 months in particular, for my higher end programs, my one-on-one mentoring, etc., I now have folded in a weekly accountability call with my clients that has been transformational to their results, because now they know that on a Monday morning, they've got a 15-minute call with me. I'm not holding the big stick over them. I'm just saying, so how did you go this week with your goals? Did you achieve them? And I've written down what their goals were for the last week because they've told me what they were. And then when they say, no, I didn't get that done, we check in why, what's happened, what held you back, and how can we get you over that? And then we look at what is the week ahead, what do they want to achieve in the week ahead? And it's regardless of whether I'm mentoring them that week or not, because I usually mentor them every fortnight, but every week they have a check-in with me, and it's been incredibly transformational for them to have that accountability. And one of the things that they talk about is that if you write your goals down, you've got a much higher percentage of achieving those goals than if you just keep them as an idea in your head. But if you not only write them down, but have an accountability buddy that you're going to say, here are my goals for this 12 months, and then break it down into action steps week by week to say, this is what I'm going to do this week to get myself one step further ahead. And then you do 15 minutes with them, and they have 15 minutes for checking in with you. So you do 15 minutes each, and you'll be sweet. You will achieve your goals a whole lot faster. So get an accountability buddy. I think I wrote a whole blog post or a LinkedIn article on this that gives you the steps on an accountability buddy. Go do that, right? My last tip in this big, lessons is be patient. Everyone wants that instantaneous gratification of, okay, I've started a course and here it is, and bada boom, and you launch and then it's crickets. It takes time. It takes time for people to get to know you and trust you. And nowadays, with the extra competition that we've got with marketing, we've got to get over that noise of all of our competitors and find a way into our ideal clients, eyeballs and into their brain and into their trust, to build that trusted relationship. That takes time. Be patient. Hold the faith. James Schramko of Superfast Business, who I'm in his program as well, he talks about, if you're going to launch a podcast, expect the first 100 podcasts that you do to have crickets to them, but do them anyway, right? So my version of that is, if you want to be on a podcast, go and find somebody who's done all that frigging hard work, who's got your following, and ask to be a guest on their podcast and leverage their network. And that way you get there faster, right? So, but whatever way you do it, be patient. I know Gary Vee is constantly talking about, have patience in this. You won't get to step 36 when you're at step 1. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump. All right, some tools and platforms that I love. I know, Nick, I loved WordPress for a long, long time. And only in April last year did I move to Kajabi, and it was like mind blowing for me. But I started all of my courses and my membership programs because I had no money, can I just say? So I started it on WordPress, which is pretty much free. And I had Wishlist backend and Aweber and PayPal. And that's how I started. And as you grow, you will evolve in your platforms and the choices that you've made. And I pretty much used Optimize Press, I've used Thrive Carts, I've used Lead Pages, I've used One Shopping Cart, Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, and then I tried Kajabi and I literally fell in love, and I moved everything from WordPress, Infusionsoft, merchant account, eWay, etc., lock, stock and barrel into Kajabi, and I have never been happier. It is a breeze to build in Kajabi. I was even able to get rid of my WordPress person that I had for 10 years that worked for me. I know that sounds really bad, but it saved me $800 a month, and I was able to then just do Kajabi, and it's been brilliant. I can build websites and membership sites in there so quick, it's not funny. And the cool thing is that they really reward you. I don't know if you guys can see, but they have this whole gamification. So when you've made your first $1,000 on Kajabi, they send you a badge and they send you a t-shirt and they send you, stuff to keep you motivated, right? And then when you've done 10,000, they send you that and another little present. And when you've signed an affiliate person up, they send you a pair of, and it just goes on. So they're very generous. They've got wonderful support. So I won't rave on anymore, but it is a great platform. But my 10 years prior to that, I am a WordPress girl through and through other than that. So Nick, love it. Camtasia is one of my other favorite tools. It's how I record my lessons. So I use Camtasia. I'm a PC girl, but whether I'm a PC or a Mac, it doesn't matter. I would use Camtasia. It was one of my very big spends early on. Wishlist and Camtasia were my two big investments 10 years ago when I started doing courses. And Camtasia just allows me to record my screen and do my presentations and edit it and upload it to whatever, where I store it, whether it's YouTube or Vimeo. I actually store my videos on Amazon S3. I've been using that for 10 years. I love it. And I use a Blue Yeti mic and a Logitech 1080 HD camera if I am doing any video type things. So Camtasia has been an absolute bomb for me with creating course content. So while I could use Zoom as a lower end thing to create content and just record my screen, I find Camtasia gives me a better quality. It doesn't have that kind of a difference between your voice coming out and your mouth moving. Sometimes I find when you record on Zoom that you've got a bit of a disconnect between that. So Camtasia is brilliant. And of course, Zoom for my group coaching calls. I actually tell you a story about Zoom because I've been using Zoom for 6 years. I'm one of the early adopters of Zoom, and I first started using it when I ran a Pinterest course it's got to be longer than that. It's got to be 6 years ago at least. And I used Zoom to live stream the Pinterest. So we set up the room. It was an in-person event, and we set the room up with cameras and a big TV screen off to the side so I can see everybody live streaming in, and they could see everybody seated at the event, and they could also see the screen, and they could hear us and we could hear them. And I think I paid about $1,200 for a guy to come in and set that all up for the day, and he was there for the day. And then I got the recordings from that, and I was able to then break that recording into 1 hour lessons, 1 hour segments, and put that on as an online course. So I think I made something like $10,000 for the 1 day event. And then I sold the online recordings of that, and I made another $30,000 from the online recording, and I sold it for $199. So creating content doesn't have to take a lot of time. What I used to do in early days was I just literally do a 1 day event. I'd get this guy to come in and record it for me and do the Zoom thing. I'd then get the recordings, chop it up, and then sell it as an online program. And it made me a lot of money doing that as well. So yeah, so there you go, Helena. You weren't the only one. It was me too. So again, if you want that ideal client avatar worksheet, just go to juliemason.com.au. But I'm open for questions. I'll stop sharing my screen and yeah, hit me up, Nick.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, the chat has just been going mental here. So, yeah, anyone that does have a question, feel free just to unmute yourself and come on and ask. If you don't want to unmute yourself, actually, I've got one here. Someone here saying, heard great reviews on LinkedIn and the classes from many friends here in India. Someone here in India. And convey his sincere gratitude to you for bringing a high quality learning session.
Oh, lovely. I
Awesome.
have got quite a few clients over in India, so yes.
Awesome. And I think,
Yes, I'm the one that teaches them to all do LinkedIn for you.
and he was also asking the same. This is a Magician Magesh.
Yep.
A question about identifying. Is there a particular way to identify needs, desires, problems of your target customer through LinkedIn, through surveys and forms, etc. on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. LinkedIn have released LinkedIn polls, which is great for doing market research. So you can use polls really effectively to ask, those questions for your ideal clients. Keep in mind that you need to be connected to them for them to actually see that, or join groups where you're on LinkedIn, where your target audience is hanging out. Groups tend not to get quite as much engagement as they do on Facebook, on LinkedIn groups. So just be mindful that you may not get quite the response rate that you're looking for on the groups. But polls are really good for market research on LinkedIn. Make sure though, when you're doing a poll on LinkedIn, it gives you a choice of putting it up for a day, 3 days, 1 week, or 2 weeks. Make sure it's always that 1 week or 2 weeks, because again, LinkedIn is that slow lane in the social media highway. We have in Australia, for example, 9 million members on LinkedIn. 40% of members check in once a day. On Facebook, we have nearly 18 million members in Australia who check in on average per member 16 times a day. So that check-in rate is phenomenally different, and therefore the speed is quite different of how much people will see your content. Yeah, great question.
Awesome. Question here, tech question.
Yeah.
What camera do you use?
I've got a Logitech HD 1080p is the brand that I use, and I find that it's much better than the quality that I get in the laptop. I mean, laptop cameras have really improved over the time frame, but I just find that this gives me a better quality, kind of video. So that's what I use.
Awesome. Julie, here you go. Do you have a big picture comment about where YouTube is going?
Oh, great question. I have this theory, and this is where I'm moving myself over this. So if you're wondering where I'm trending to over the next 12 months, I'm calling this my longevity strategy. The places that I will be focusing my marketing on will be definitely YouTube, podcasts, and Pinterest, believe it or not. That will be aside. So if I'm going to be focusing on my content getting longevity, they will be where I will be focusing, because all of these 3 places are search engines, right? So Pinterest is actually a search engine. YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. And then, oh my gosh, my head's gone tonight. Podcasts. Once you've done a podcast, it stays there forever, right? It rarely gets deleted. So it has longevity. So for me, I will be focusing on those 3 for my content moving forward. And I've just recently bought myself a beautiful, I have another camera. I just bought it. It's a GoPro 8 black, and it's got the, whiz bang thing. And I've got my ring light that I just bought on Amazon. So I will be doing a lot more video coming up. So there you go.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Thanks. Just so long as it doesn't give me that crappy thumbnail that Facebook gave me today.
Can I ask a question, Julie?
Hi, Jane. Yes.
Hi. Thank you so much for tonight. I think I can say for all of us, it's been another absolutely mind-blowing session. We've all taken heaps of notes and are probably not going to get to sleep very easily tonight. Because I am launching a course in, it's an online membership in February. I have done courses before on Teachable, but I've heard that Kajabi is the one to go. Do you know Teachable at all? And like, I would go with Teachable because it's the one that I have used as a student. Kajabi I've had nothing to do with, but I've heard Kajabi is the one to go with.
Well, so I've been looking at Kajabi for a couple of years, and then dove in end of March last year, and I signed up for the 14-day free trial, and was sitting here the first day. So I was sitting here on a Saturday night. I can't remember what my husband was doing, but it wasn't something I was obviously interested in. So I sat here and played with Kajabi and thought, okay, well, I've got a 14-day free trial. Let me see how quickly I could move my existing membership site, all the video content across, right? Just to see if I could put it through its paces and how fast would it be for me and how technically straining would it be? Would I need a VA to do it, or could I do it myself? So in 90 minutes, I had 28 videos moved across in 90 minutes. It was that quick, and it was so easy to use. And then I played around with building a web page on it, and it was just click, drag, and drop. And I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. And so I literally rang, I think I emailed their customer service on the Monday morning and said, get me off the trial, charge my credit card now. I'm all in, 2 feet, put me in. And as soon as I signed up, probably I think within 24 hours, I got this email from them, because it was only for Kajabi members who were actually paid members, to say that there was a conference on at LA 10 days later. And my mum was in hospital with a broken hip. So I went in and apologized to her and said, Mum, I've booked my airfares to LA. I'll be going, my husband's going to take care of you. You'll be fine. And I literally packed everything up and flew across to LA for the 3-day Kajabi conference. And I have to say, it was the best conference I've been to in 13 years. And I just have not looked back from there. In regards to Teachable, I have some clients who use Teachable. Yep. I haven't used it myself, but my question to you, Jane, here would be, first of all, Kajabi is a lot more expensive. I think Teachable, what's Teachable, $99 a month or something?
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the prices yet.
I think Teachable's $99 a month from memory. I think, Donna, you were nodding. Is that about right, darling? Yep. Right. And Kajabi at the lowest end, like the base version, I think it's about $119 a month, something like that. So it's much of much. I'm on the mid-level Kajabi because I brought everything over. And the reason I like this is because I now do everything within. I do my email marketing there. I do my e-commerce. It integrates with Stripe so beautifully. It's not funny. I do my web pages there, my lead funnels there, everything. And they are just going out and out and out and out with this. So they've created, and listening to, like, Brendan Bouchard built his $10 million a year business on Kajabi before it was cool, and it's really grown. So from that aspect, and the fact that it's just so easy for me to use, it's not funny. I would say if you're going to do one or the other, it depends. Have a think about it. Do you have a WordPress website that you're happy to use?
No.
No?
No, I'm on Shopify, so I'm an e-commerce business, so, and it's mainly selling product. So it is a Shopify store, right. And I have an app added, which is through the Shopify site, Gem Pages, which builds all my pages and everything like that.
So if you've got a physical product, then I'm going to say Kajabi is not for you as much, right?
Okay.
Because it's really designed for courses.
Well, it's not it won't be used for a physical product because it will be the art classes.
I would probably point you still back to Nick and work with Nick for a little bit and do that WordPress integrated with Shopify, because WordPress will integrate really well with Shopify. And then do that, the member program. What was the member one that you said? WP Complete. No, that was the tool.
That was the tool, yeah.
There's a number of like member to member or like Wishlist, for example, which I paid a one-off fee of $197 10 years ago, and I've still got unlimited licenses to build membership sites for $197 for the lifetime of it, Jane, rather than $197 a month, right? So think about your e-commerce choices there for yourself, for your budgeting as well. And it might be worthwhile saying, investing some money with Nick and getting him to do a WordPress. I don't know, Nick, if I'm putting you in the hot pot here or not, but
I'm used to being there.
to do a WordPress integrated with Shopify, integrated with your courses. And that might be far better for you than going down to the Kajabi route just at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I can talk to Nick about that later.
Yeah. Cool. Great question.
Thank you for that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, look, we are getting towards the end of the evening. I mean, you can always tell this is a good session because we've run over time. People are asking questions and there are more questions to come again. So I'm just wondering if people want to get in touch with you or reach out to you, what's the best way, Julie?
Well, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, guys. So you'll find me if you just search for Julie Mason on LinkedIn. I'm one of the 50,000 that are on there. No, I'm joking. But you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Make sure you add that personal note and say I was on Nick's event tonight. That would be great. Alternatively, if you would like to send some questions through, then feel free to email me at julie@juliemason.com.au. I'll happily answer any questions that we didn't get to answer tonight. So that will be my gift for everybody on the call. And I think we've got a freebie to give away as well from me tonight too, Nick.
Awesome. And we've got, I think one of your students here wants to just jump in and say something. So Paul, you can unmute yourself and come and make a comment.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Julie. Hello, and thank you, Nick. I've loved both of your presentations, and I've done Julie's program. So if you haven't, really recommend it. It's just excellent and so generous with your knowledge, Julie. But Nick, tonight you've actually achieved something else, and that is I've spotted one of your other attendees, and you've reintroduced me to a family friend from about 50 years ago. So there you go. Thank you very much.
Wow.
And the person is Victoria Smith, who's in Wellington, New Zealand, which is where I'm from originally. And I knew Vicky's family very well. So thanks for reconnecting.
Awesome. Oh, that's great news. Isn't it amazing, some of these online things we go to? And
small world.
It's a very, very small world.
Exactly. And I think that's what this is all about, making this world smaller. So thanks again.
Excellent. Oh, well, thanks for coming along and good to have that reintroduction. All right. Yes. Well, look, thanks, Julie. And I think, yes, we do. For those of you that are stuck around tonight, right to the very end, we do have a prize draw tonight. And this is one that's put up by Julie. So tell us what it is, Julie.
So following on from our conversation, as Nick, your tribe here, your followers here are all about getting online. I'm giving away a 1-hour brainstorming session for them, for whoever the lucky winner is, to chat with me about, getting their programs up online and just, brainstorming from there. So that's the prize tonight. It's valued about $750.
Who wants that one? Put up your hand. If you don't put up your hand, then you're not in the draw. Excellent. There's lots of hands going up. Excellent. We've got our a great way to draw it, as usual, our wheel of names. So I've got all your names loaded in there. Oh, lots of raised hands going up here. So the way this works is you actually have to be here to win it. So those that dropped off early don't get the opportunity of winning, so you have to be here. So if we draw your name out, I'll look for you. If I can't find you, just make sure you're singing out and let me know you're still here. So let's spin the wheel. And a big drum roll, please.
I don't have very good tapping.
And our lucky winner there is Victoria Brun. Are you still here, Victoria? She is indeed. Yes, excellent. So congratulations there, Victoria. That will be an awesome prize there. Well, let's just stop the share here. Okay.
So Victoria, if you'd like to email me at julie@juliemason.com.au, we'll definitely hook up and have that 1 hour session.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed the session tonight. I know I've learned heaps of stuff tonight. I've got my private chat going in Slack with my team with all sorts of ideas that have come out from tonight. So a lot of work for us to do as well. So thanks, Julie. And also remember for tomorrow. Oh, I was just going to say, if we got Julie back for LinkedIn to talk to us about LinkedIn, just give us a hands up, a yes in the chat there if you'd like to hear her come back again. I haven't asked her yet, so I'm putting her on the spot. Okay, lots of yeses there, lots of yeses. All right, well, we might sort of see if we can get you back again sometime,
Feeling
Julie.
my arm being twisted.
Yeah. Nothing like doing it live, is it? Eh?
Thanks. Great accountability, Nick.
Yeah, exactly. And so lots of people asking for names of apps and tools and things that Julie was using tonight. The replay of this session tonight will be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So you'll be able to go there tomorrow and you can rewatch it again to get all of the learnings from tonight. The link is in chat right now. So if you go to the channel, it's the SmashGo YouTube channel. Go and subscribe. It'll be up there tomorrow, and as soon as it's up there, make sure you hit the bell. So there's a little bell there when you subscribe as well. So you've got to hit the subscribe and the little bell link, and then you'll get a notification coming through to you in your browser and your email to let you know that video's up there so you can go back and watch it again. Also tomorrow we have the office hours, which is at 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. I know daylight savings is really sort of throwing sort of stuff out for people in New Zealand, New South Wales, and the other states there. We're the only consistent one here that has no daylight saving. We just get up earlier. So that's on at 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Now, office hours is a no speaker, no agenda coffee chat. It's a virtual coffee chat, and the topic of the day is whatever you bring. So you can ask a question, ask for a recommendation for an app. It can be, I dare say, there'll be some conversation stemming from, what we've had tonight as well too. And I know a couple of people have mentioned that in chat. So I'd love you to come along. The link again is in chat as well too. So you can go along and register there. It's on Zoom as well. Make sure you bring a cup of coffee, cup of tea, glass of wine, whatever you drink at that time in the morning or afternoon or wherever you are in the world. And remember to save the chat. All of these links are in the chat. So if you see the 3 little dots down the bottom right, click on that and that'll save it to your computer. Next week's Business Owners Smashing It Online will not be on Tuesday because that's Melbourne Cup Day. Apparently that's a big deal here in Australia. Not sure how big it is in New Zealand. I knew it was when I lived there because it was an opportunity for going out to the pub and, not actually working for the rest of the day. So I will be doing just that. So we're going to be holding the Business Owners Smashing It Online on Wednesday next week. And we've got another awesome speaker for next week, which we'll announce probably tomorrow or the next day online. So look out for that. If you want to catch up with the announcements for this, make sure you join the Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group. And inside there, that's where we make the announcements for the next events. We do post it all over Facebook and LinkedIn and I think a whole lot of other social media channels. But if you're in the group, then you're definitely going to get that notification rather than waiting on the algorithm to decide whether they're going to show it to you or not. So again, that link for Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group is in chat. So click on that and go and join that now as well. So once again, I would just like to say thanks again, Julie, for sharing your evening with us tonight and all your wisdom tonight.
My pleasure, Nick. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to coming back and talking about LinkedIn by the sounds.
And thanks for everyone for coming along tonight and spending your evening with us tonight as well. And look forward to seeing you online, or seeing you tomorrow, or seeing you next week. So go and have a good week.
Bye, everyone.
See you, Nick.